A lot of people get caught up in words. They hear something and immediately they start reading into it, analyzing it, twisting it around in their minds, trying to figure out what it really means. And one of the biggest traps people fall into, especially when it comes to relationships, attraction, and human interaction, is getting hung up on a single word. A woman calls you babe, and suddenly your mind starts racing. What does this mean? Is she interested? Is it just a habit? Is she flirting? Is she just being nice? People obsess over words. They get caught up in a single phrase, a passing comment, an offhand remark, and they start building entire narratives around it. They hear something and their mind immediately jumps into overdrive, dissecting it, analyzing it, twisting it into something that may or may not even exist. And one of the most common traps people fall into is taking a single word, one isolated piece of communication, and assuming it holds the key to understanding everything about a situation. A woman calls you babe, and suddenly you're scrambling to figure out what it means. Is she interested? Is she just being friendly? Is it a habit? Is it flirting? You start replaying the moment in your mind, breaking it down, trying to extract some deeper meaning from it, as if this one word is a secret code that, if deciphered correctly, will give you all the answers. But that's not how life works. It's not how people work, because words by themselves are just sounds, just symbols. They only have as much meaning as you assign to them. And if you're getting caught up in a single word, if you're letting one small detail dictate your thoughts, your emotions, your behavior, then you're missing the bigger picture. Think about it. If a woman calls everyone babe, her coworkers, her friends, her barista, her Uber driver, then how much does it really mean when she says it to you? If it's just a word she throws around casually, then getting worked up over it is a waste of time. And yet people do this all the time. They latch onto one word, one phrase, one moment, and they build an entire emotional response around it. They assume that because it meant something to them, it must mean the same thing to the other person. But that's not reality. That's projection. People use the same words in different ways. For one person, babe might be a term of endearment reserved for someone special. For another, it might be nothing more than a conversational habit, a way of speaking that has no deeper significance. And if you don't take the time to understand how someone communicates, if you don't pay attention to the patterns, the consistency, the bigger context, then you're always going to be operating based on assumptions rather than reality. And that's dangerous, because when you assume meaning where there is none, you set yourself up for unnecessary frustration. You start expecting things that were never promised. You build up a story in your head only to be disappointed when reality doesn't match your imagination. And all of this could have been avoided if you had simply stepped back and looked at the full picture instead of fixating on one tiny piece. But that's the real problem, isn't it? Most people don't want to look at the bigger picture. They want shortcuts. They want simple answers. They want a single word to tell them everything they need to know, because it's easier than actually paying attention, actually observing, actually putting in the effort to understand how someone communicates beyond just their words. And the truth is, if you're looking for meaning in a single word, then you're probably not paying attention to the real signals, because attraction, interest, intent, these things are rarely communicated through just one word. They are found in the way someone looks at you, in how they respond to you, in the energy they bring to your interactions. They are found in the patterns, in the consistency, in the unspoken cues that most people overlook because they're too busy obsessing over one moment instead of seeing the full picture. So what's the solution? Stop overanalyzing. Stop letting a single word send you into a spiral of self-doubt and speculation. Start paying attention to the bigger picture. Start observing instead of assuming. Start recognizing that real meaning is found in patterns, in consistency, in behavior, not in a single word taken out of context. Because that's where confidence comes from. Not from knowing exactly what every single word means, but from knowing that you don't need to obsess over it. From understanding that true communication, true connection, true understanding comes from the full spectrum of interaction, not just one moment. And when you stop letting yourself get caught up in the small things, when you develop the ability to step back, to observe, to see things for what they actually are rather than what you want them to be, and that's when you start moving through life with real confidence, with real awareness, with real control. And that is worth infinitely more than any single word. People are obsessed with words, but they don't realize that words on their own don't mean anything. Words are symbols, nothing more. They are placeholders for thoughts, emotions and intentions, but without context, without tone, without the full picture, they are just empty sounds. And yet people get caught up in them. They hear a single word, babe, for example, and suddenly their mind starts running in circles, trying to break it down, trying to extract meaning from it, trying to figure out what it really means. But this approach is fundamentally flawed because it ignores the most important factor of all, context. Context is everything. Without it, you are operating in the dark, grasping at straws, making assumptions based on incomplete information. If a woman calls you babe, that word alone doesn't tell you anything. It is just a fragment of the larger picture. The only way to understand what it actually means is to step back and look at the full context. How did she say it? What was her tone? Was there warmth in her voice? Was there playfulness? Was it personal or was it just casual? Was there eye contact, a lingering touch, a smile that hinted at something deeper? Or was it flat, indifferent, something she says to everyone without thinking about it? Because the truth is, people communicate far more through their tone, their body language, their energy than they do through words. A person can say babe with affection, with flirtation, with a level of intimacy that makes it clear that there is something more behind it. But they can also say it in a completely neutral, automatic way that means absolutely nothing. And if you don't pay attention to how it was said, if you don't take in the full context, then you're missing the most important part of the equation. Think about it this way. If someone texts you okay, that word alone doesn't tell you much. But if they say okay with an exclamation point, that carries a different energy. If they say okay with 3 dots, that suggests hesitation. If they say okay in a cold, short, dismissive way, that tells you something else entirely. The word itself hasn't changed, but the meaning behind it has. Because meaning isn't just about words, it's about how they are delivered. And yet people fall into the same trap over and over again. They latch onto a single word, isolate it from everything else, and then wonder why they are confused. They overanalyze, they obsess, they create unnecessary problems for themselves because they are looking at the situation in the wrong way. They are trying to understand something complex with a simplistic approach, and it just doesn't work. This is why awareness is so important. If you want to understand what someone really means when they say something, you have to train yourself to see the full picture. You have to stop focusing on individual words and start looking at patterns, at energy, at consistency. If a woman calls you babe, but she calls everyone else babe too, then you have your answer. It doesn't mean anything. If she calls you babe in a specific way, in a way that she doesn't use with other people, then maybe there's something more to it. But even then, it's not just about the word. It's about everything else she does. Does she make an effort to spend time with you? Does she seek out your attention? Does she show interest in your life, in your thoughts, in your presence? Or is she just someone who throws around terms of endearment with no real weight behind them? Because if you are only listening to the words and ignoring the actions, then you are setting yourself up for confusion. Words can be misleading, but patterns don't lie. And here's the thing. People who truly understand communication, people who are socially aware, people who are confident in themselves, they don't waste time dissecting single words. They don't hear babe and suddenly spiral into a state of overthinking. They take in the full context, and if the meaning isn't clear, they keep moving forward, engaging naturally, letting the truth reveal itself over time. They don't force meaning onto something that hasn't been fully established, because that's the real key here. When you stop fixating on individual words and start looking at everything, the tone, the consistency, the actions, the full picture, you stop being confused, you stop overanalyzing, you start seeing things as they really are, rather than how you want them to be. And that is what gives you clarity. That is what gives you confidence. That is what allows you to navigate social interactions without getting lost in unnecessary speculation. So don't get caught up in a single word. Don't let babe send you down a mental rabbit hole of overthinking. Pay attention to everything. Observe, read between the lines, and most importantly, understand that real meaning is found in context, not in isolated words, because once you start seeing the full picture, everything becomes clear. People want certainty. They want simple, clean-cut answers. They want to take one moment, one word, one interaction, and have it tell them everything they need to know. They want to hear a woman call them babe and immediately categorize it. This means she's interested, or this means nothing. But reality doesn't work that way. Human communication is layered, messy, full of subtlety. People don't speak in absolute terms. They don't always say exactly what they mean. And even when they do, the way they say it matters just as much, if not more, than the words themselves. This is where people go wrong. They assume that words are the primary carriers of meaning, that if they could just interpret a word correctly, they could unlock the entire situation. But words on their own are unreliable. They are influenced by culture, personality, social habits, and personal quirks. One person's babe might be a deep term of endearment, while another person throws it around as casually as they say dude or bro. If you take the word at face value without considering the full context, you are making a fundamental mistake. You are assuming that language is universal when, in reality, it is deeply personal. This is why understanding patterns is far more important than analyzing individual words. If you want to know what something truly means, you don't isolate a single moment and obsess over it. You look at repeated behavior, at how someone treats you consistently over time. Because anyone can say babe once. Anyone can say something in passing that sounds affectionate, flirtatious, or meaningful. But one word does not define a relationship, an attraction, or an intention. Patterns do. Think about it like this. If someone calls you babe once, but then treats you indifferently, doesn't engage with you in a meaningful way, doesn't seek you out, doesn't show warmth or genuine interest, then what does the word actually mean? Nothing, it's just noise. But if someone calls you babe, and over time you notice that they always make an effort to be around you, they remember little details about you, they initiate conversations, they engage with you differently than they do with others. Now you have a pattern. Now you have something real to base your understanding on. But people don't want to wait for patterns to emerge. They don't want to take the time to observe, to pay attention, to let the truth unfold naturally. They want quick answers. They want to hear a word and immediately be able to categorize it, to know exactly what it means. And this desperation for certainty is what leads to overthinking, misinterpretation, and unnecessary emotional turmoil. Because when you rush to conclusions based on incomplete information, you are almost always going to be wrong. And here's the real issue. When you fixate on a single word, you are giving up control. You are allowing someone else's speech to dictate your emotions, your confidence, your sense of certainty. You are putting yourself in a position where your state of mind is dependent on something you don't even fully understand. That is weak, that is reactive, that is the opposite of how a strong, self-assured person operates. Because confidence doesn't come from obsessing over details. Confidence comes from knowing that you don't need to obsess. It comes from understanding that meaning reveals itself over time, through actions, through consistency, through patterns. It comes from having the patience to let things unfold rather than trying to force an answer before you have enough information to make an intelligent judgment. This is what separates people who are socially competent from those who are constantly confused and frustrated. The people who struggle in social interactions are the ones who are always looking for quick signals, who take things at face value, who hear one word and immediately build an entire narrative around it. They lack patience. They lack awareness. They lack the ability to step back and let things develop before jumping to conclusions. But the people who understand human interaction at a deep level, they don't fall into this trap. They don't get caught up in one-off moments. They don't overanalyze small details. They look at the full picture. They pay attention to patterns, not individual words. They understand that real attraction, real connection, real intention is not revealed in a single statement. It is revealed over time through repeated behavior, through consistency. And that is the mindset you need to develop. If a woman calls you babe, don't let your mind spiral into a frenzy of overthinking. Don't try to extract meaning from a single word in isolation. Instead, step back, observe, pay attention to how she interacts with you as a whole. Does she treat you differently than she treats others? Does she engage with you in a way that suggests genuine interest? Is there a pattern of warmth, attraction, and connection, or is it just a fleeting moment, a habit, a meaningless phrase that carries no real weight? When you start thinking in terms of patterns rather than individual moments, everything becomes clearer. You stop feeling confused, you stop overanalyzing, you stop letting small details dictate your emotions. You develop the ability to see people for who they really are rather than getting lost in shallow interpretations of their words. And when you reach that level of awareness, you move through life with a confidence that is unshakable because you are no longer relying on uncertain signals, you are relying on reality. People want to believe they have control over how others perceive them. They want to think that if they can just say the right words, wear the right clothes, or act in a certain way, they can shape the thoughts and feelings of those around them. But this belief is an illusion. You do not control how other people see you. You do not control how they interpret your words, how they assign meaning to your actions, or what they feel when they interact with you. The only thing you truly control is yourself, your own perception, your own reaction, your own mindset. And yet, people waste so much energy trying to decipher what others think of them. They obsess over small details, fixate on insignificant moments, and let their self-worth be dictated by the words of others. A woman calls them babe, and instead of simply accepting it for what it is, they start analyzing it, breaking it down, searching for hidden meaning. Was it affectionate? Was it flirtatious? Was it just a habit? Does she say it to everyone, or was it special? And as they spiral deeper into this over-analysis, they don't even realize what they're doing. They're handing over their power. They are letting someone else's words dictate their emotions. But here's the truth. The way people speak, the words they choose, the things they say in passing, most of it isn't even intentional. People operate on autopilot most of the time. They have speech patterns that they use without thinking. They have habits, quirks, ways of expressing themselves that are unique to them but mean nothing beyond that. A woman might call you babe just because that's how she talks. It could mean something, or it could mean nothing. But the moment you start obsessing over it, the moment you let it consume your thoughts, you are making a fundamental mistake. You are assuming that a single word carries more weight than it actually does. And this is what separates those who are confident and self-assured from those who are constantly seeking validation. The people who are truly confident don't get caught up in these things. They don't need to analyze every word spoken to them. They don't need to look for hidden meanings in casual interactions. They operate from a position of strength, of certainty, of knowing that their value is not determined by how someone else speaks to them. Think about it. If a man is truly confident, if he truly understands himself and his worth, does he care if a woman calls him babe? Does he sit there dissecting the word, replaying the moment in his head, wondering what it means? No, because he knows that a single word doesn't define an interaction. He knows that real attraction, real connection, real meaning isn't found in one-off moments. It's found in patterns, in consistency, in the way someone engages with you over time. And this is where so many people go wrong. They assume that meaning is immediate. They think that if they can just interpret a single moment correctly, they will have all the answers. But real understanding, real social intelligence comes from long-term observation. It comes from stepping back, from paying attention to everything, not just isolated moments. A woman calling you babe means nothing unless it is part of a larger pattern of behavior. If she consistently treats you differently than she treats others, if she shows a unique level of interest in you, if her actions align with her words, then you have something to work with. But if she calls you babe once and then shows no further signs of engagement, why would you waste time analyzing it? Why would you let one moment take up so much space in your mind? Because the real issue here isn't the word itself. The real issue is your need to assign meaning to it. The real issue is your tendency to overthink, to search for validation in things that ultimately don't matter. And the solution to this isn't to become better at analyzing people, it's to become better at controlling yourself. It's to develop the kind of mindset where you don't need to dissect every interaction, where you don't need constant reassurance, where you don't let the words of others determine your state of mind. Because at the end of the day, confidence isn't about always having the right answers. It's not about perfectly interpreting every situation. It's about not needing to. It's about knowing that your value isn't dependent on what someone else says. It's about understanding that people's words are often just noise. That true meaning is found in patterns, in consistency, in repeated behavior over time. So the next time a woman calls you babe, don't overthink it. Don't let it consume your thoughts. Step back, look at the bigger picture, observe, and most importantly, remember that you are in control of your mindset, your emotions, your perception. Stop searching for validation in fleeting moments. Stop letting small details dictate your confidence. When you learn to do that, when you develop the ability to move through life without constantly second-guessing yourself, that's when you truly step into your power. People think that words define relationships. They believe that a single phrase, a single interaction, a single moment carries the full weight of meaning. But that is not how reality works. Words are tools, yes, but they are not the foundation of connection. People lie with words, they manipulate with words, they use words casually, habitually, without intention. A woman might call you babe for a dozen different reasons, some meaningful, some meaningless. But if you focus solely on the word itself, you are missing the entire picture. And here's the core of the issue. People are desperate for certainty. They want immediate answers. They want to know right now, without question, what someone else is thinking, feeling, intending. They don't want to wait for patterns to emerge, for consistency to reveal the truth. They want to hear a word, dissect it, analyze it, and arrive at a solid conclusion. But human interactions do not work that way. Meaning is built over time, through repeated actions, through consistency, through what is done, far more than what is said. This is why people who are socially intelligent don't obsess over words. They don't need to. They don't hear babe and immediately start constructing elaborate theories about what it could mean. They don't waste time trying to decipher the hidden significance of a single moment. They step back, they observe, they look at the full pattern of behavior. Does this woman consistently show interest? Does she go out of her way to engage with you? Does she display warmth, affection, attraction over time? Or is this just a word, a habit, a throwaway phrase that she uses without thinking? Because here's the brutal truth. If you have to ask what a word means, it probably doesn't mean much. When someone is genuinely interested in you, when they are emotionally invested, when they feel something real, you don't need to analyze their words. It becomes obvious in their actions. They make time for you, they seek out your attention, they engage with you in a way that leaves no room for doubt. You don't need to play detective, you don't need to overanalyze. The meaning is clear. But people don't trust this process. They don't trust themselves. They are so desperate for validation, for reassurance, that they cling to the smallest signals, trying to extract meaning from moments that in reality might be meaningless. A woman calls them babe once and suddenly they can't stop thinking about it. Was it affectionate? Was it flirtatious? Did she mean something by it? And the moment they start asking these questions, they reveal their own insecurity. Because a person who is confident, a person who is sure of themselves, a person who knows their worth, they don't do this. They don't need to. Confidence isn't about always having the answers. It's about being comfortable without the answers. It's about being okay with uncertainty. It's about knowing that a single word does not define an interaction, that true meaning is built over time, that if something is real, it will reveal itself naturally. When you have that mindset, you don't need to chase answers. You don't need to dissect conversations. You move through life with the quiet assurance that clarity comes not from obsessive analysis, but from patience, from observation, from allowing the truth to unfold. And this is the core of emotional strength, detachment from outcome. People who struggle in social interactions are the ones who are too invested in small moments. They hear a word and suddenly they need it to mean something. They latch onto it. They build expectations around it. They let it dictate their emotions. But the people who truly thrive, the people who move through the world with confidence, they don't attach their self-worth to fleeting interactions. They don't need every moment to be significant. They operate from a position of abundance. They know that their value isn't dependent on a single conversation, a single word, a single interaction. So here's the real challenge. Stop searching for meaning where there may be none. Stop needing validation from small moments. Stop letting the words of others dictate your emotions. A woman calls you babe, so what? What does the rest of her behavior tell you? What does the larger pattern reveal? If you need to analyze it, that means you don't have enough information yet. And if you don't have enough information, that means you need to do one thing. Step back and observe. Watch the pattern. Watch the consistency. If there's something real, it will show itself. If there's nothing there, you'll see that too. And when you adopt this mindset, when you stop being reactive, when you stop overanalyzing, when you stop needing immediate answers, you will notice something incredible happen. You will stop feeling confused. You will stop feeling anxious. You will move through life with clarity, with certainty, with the ability to see things as they are rather than how you want them to be. And that is the ultimate power. That is what allows you to control your emotions, your perception, your reality. That is what separates those who are strong from those who are lost in the fog of overanalysis. So let go of the need for certainty. Let go of the obsession with words. See the bigger picture, because when you do, you will realize that true confidence isn't about knowing what every moment means. It's about not needing to know at all. People are trapped in their own minds. They take small things, moments, words, and build entire narratives around them, stories that may have no connection to reality. A woman calls them babe, and suddenly they're lost in a cycle of analysis, trying to determine what it means. They look for signs, signals, clues, as if the answer is hidden in that single word, waiting to be uncovered. But the truth is far simpler. Meaning is not in the word itself. Meaning is in how you choose to perceive it. Because here's what people don't understand. Most of the time, they are not reacting to reality. They are reacting to their own interpretation of reality. A woman says babe, and immediately they filter that word through their own insecurities, their own desires, their own need for validation. They think, does this mean she likes me? Is this a sign? But that reaction has nothing to do with her. It has everything to do with them. They are taking an external event and allowing it to dictate their internal state. And that is a dangerous way to live. Because when you live like that, you are always at the mercy of the outside world. You are constantly searching for signals, constantly analyzing, constantly looking for meaning in places where it may not exist. You are making yourself reactive, weak, dependent on things you cannot control. And when you live in that state, you are not in charge of your emotions. Your emotions are in charge of you. But the people who truly understand how the world works, the ones who move through life with confidence, clarity, and composure, they do something different. They don't look for meaning in every word. They don't obsess over small moments. They don't let the actions of others dictate their emotions. They control their own perception. They decide what matters and what doesn't. They choose their own frame of reference, because here's the reality. Babe is just a word. It does not have power unless you give it power. It does not change anything unless you allow it to change something. If you are stable, if you are secure, if you are grounded in who you are, then a word like babe is nothing more than what it is, a sound, a syllable, an expression. If there is meaning behind it, that meaning will become clear over time. If there is no meaning, then you move on without a second thought. Either way, you are not controlled by it. But here's where people fail. They do not trust themselves. They do not trust their ability to let things unfold naturally. They think that if they do not figure it out right now, they will lose control. They think that if they do not analyze the moment immediately, they will miss something important. But that is an illusion. The need for immediate certainty is a sign of insecurity, of anxiety, of a mind that has not yet learned to be still. And that's what this really comes down to, learning to be still. Learning to let go of the need to control every situation, every moment, every interaction. When you stop searching for meaning in small things, when you stop needing an immediate answer to every question, you free yourself, you become untouchable. You stop being reactive. You stop being someone who is thrown around by the words of others. Because that's the real difference between those who are confident and those who are not. The confident person does not need every word to mean something. The confident person does not need to analyze every interaction. The confident person trusts that the truth will reveal itself in time. And in doing so, they create an aura of strength, of composure, of certainty that is far more powerful than any amount of over-analysis ever could be. So the next time a woman calls you babe, don't overthink it. Don't attach meaning where there may be none. Don't fall into the trap of trying to decode every little thing. Instead, step back, observe, pay attention to the full picture, and most importantly, recognize that you are in control of your own emotions, your own perceptions, your own reality. The moment you stop giving small things more meaning than they deserve, you step into a level of confidence and power that most people will never reach. So stop looking for hidden meanings in a single word. Stop overthinking. Start paying attention to the bigger picture. Start leading the interaction instead of reacting to it. And most importantly, start moving through life with the confidence that no single word from any single person should ever have that much control over your thoughts.